All right, Kathy, we're ready to go.
Great, thanks, Danielle. Hello, and welcome to the USDA NIFA Agriculture and Food Research Initiative Foundational and Applied Science Program Fiscal Year 2024 RFA Announcement and Technical Assistance Webinar for the Division of Animal Systems. Please note that this webinar is being recorded, so all microphones except for the speakers will need to be muted. The number for Zoom technical support is provided here. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can enter them into the chat. After the presentation, the slides and recording will be posted to the nifa.usda.gov website. This is the USDA NIFA Non-Discrimination Information Statement. In accordance with federal civil rights law and USDA regulations and policies, the USDA and all agencies and employees are prohibited from discriminating based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, age, marital status, family or parental status, income from a public assistance program, or political beliefs. We've listed the contact information for individuals with disabilities to request reasonable accommodations. We note that language access services will be provided upon request, and that anyone wishing to file a complaint can do so through the contact information provided on the slide. Today, we'll cover several topics to assist applicants as you develop your proposals to the AFRI FAS program. We'll provide you with an overview of NIFA, an overview of the FAS program, and program area priorities for programs in the Animal Systems Division. We'll go over RFA details, the proposal evaluation process, and additional resources. We'll start with a brief NIFA overview. NIFA is the extramural science funding agency in the USDA Research, Education, and Economics, or REE mission area. NIFA's investments and support ensures the long-term viability of agriculture. The agency provides funding and leadership for programs that ensure groundbreaking discoveries in agricultural science and technology for people to put into practice. This slide displays the broad reach of NIFA's mission and programs. They include technology, education, plants and crops, food science and nutrition, climate and environment, and business and economics programs. Animal programs include breeding, health, production, and aquaculture. The Foundational and Applied Science, or FAS RFA, is available online. The link to the website is provided here, as well as links to additional resources and frequently asked questions to help you prepare your application. The application deadline for each program area is listed in the RFA. Note that all applications are submitted through grants.gov. We'll now provide overviews of each program area in the Division of Animal Systems. For each program, the speaker will introduce the program staff and contacts, and then review the purpose and priorities for the area. Also note that in the presentation, the specific page reference in the FAS RFA is listed in the upper right corner of the slides for each program area. So we'll begin with the overview of the Animal Reproduction Program area. And so we're going to hand it first to Dr. Camilla Grant. So Camilla, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Kathy. Good afternoon, everyone. As previously stated, I am Dr. Camila Grant, and I co-lead the Animal Reproduction or A1211 program with Dr. Mark Miranda, who is our National Science Liaison, and our two program specialists, Ms. Sierra Casetas and Mrs. Pushpa Kathir. So I'm going to start off by giving you the purpose and priorities of this particular program that includes cellular, molecular, genetic, or genomic or whole animal aspects of animal reproduction and efforts to improve reproductive efficiency or enhance reproductive management, especially focusing on gonadal function, which would include overall production, function, and preservation of gametes for both sexes, the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, embryonic and fetal development, which would include interaction between the conceptus as well as its uterine environment, as well as the microbiome of the reproductive tract. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the projects that are acceptable as well as the grant types that are offered within this program. And again, you can find more details about this on the RFA pages 32 through 33. As previously stated, the program area priority code is A1211, and the budget request for each proposal, for each standard proposal, could equal up to upwards of $650,000 for all of our standard grants for projects ranging from 3 to 5 years. For those seed grants, they are 2 years and can range up to $300,000. Within this particular program area priority, we only accept research projects, and the grant types that are available include standard, conference, and phase, which would include strengthening standard, new investigator, strengthening conference, seed, equipment, and sabbatical grants only. The deadline for this particular area is fast approaching. It is promptly at 5 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, August 8th. Should you have any questions or concerns regarding this program, feel free to reach out to myself or Dr. Miranda, and our contacts are there for you. Next, we will hear information about the Animal Nutrition Growth and Lactation Program. Steve.
Thank you, Camila. Welcome again to each of you for the Animal Nutrition Growth and Lactation Program. This is our team. Dr. Mark Miranda and I co-lead this program with Terry Radke and Sierra Casetas as our program specialists. The funding priorities for nutrition growth and lactation are the cellular, molecular, genetic, genomic, or whole animal aspects of nutrition growth and lactation, but with a special focus on nutrient utilization and efficiency, including the influence and impact of the gastrointestinal microbiome and or mitigation of enteric methane or other greenhouse gases. They also include innovative approaches to feed formulation or the use of novel alternative feedstuffs, especially those that may contribute to reducing emissions of methane and other greenhouse gases. Continuing on, those funding priorities also include, and this is where you'll notice this is a very broad priority. So it embraces a lot, and it underscored here with the improving the quality and efficiency of producing milk, meat, eggs, and animal fiber, as well as metabolic disorders and nutritional deficiencies affecting production. So if it's a metabolic disorder, it comes to this program. If it's an infectious disease, it will go to one of the other programs you'll hear in just a moment. Take note, though, in this program, we do include and embrace maternal nutritional treatments that have effect on growth and lactation of their offspring. That is not a reproduction program. That one comes here. And for the meat scientists among us, pre-harvest treatment effects on post-harvest characteristics are welcomed here. The program area priority code is A1231 with a budget very similar to what you saw in the reproduction program, with $650,000 maximum for standard awards for project periods of up to 5 years, seed grants at $300,000 for 2 years, and $50,000 for conference and equipment grants. These are research projects only, and again, the grant types are standard, conference, and phase, including the strengthening standard, new investigator standard, strengthening conference, seed, equipment, and sabbatical grants only. We closely align our application deadlines, in this case, Thursday, August 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern time. At 5:01, they're late, so please observe that carefully. And if you have any other questions or comments, please reach out to Dr. Miranda or myself, and you see our contact information right there. And now I'm going to pass the torch back to Camila to talk about the welfare of agricultural animals.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Getting into the staff or program contacts for the welfare of agricultural animals program, it's again myself, co-leading with Dr. Miranda, and the program specialist for this program is Ms. Rakia Salter. The purpose and priorities for this program can be found on RFA pages 35 to 36. And these funding priorities include evaluation of current production practices or development of new management approaches to safeguard animal welfare and the adaptation to climate change, which would include objective measures of animal welfare, including the use of emerging methods and metrics for assessment for outcome-based welfare, alternatives or improvements for pain management, euthanasia, and slaughter, and handling and transportation in efforts to decrease overall injury and distress of the animals, and that would include thermal stress, understanding the effect of the microbiome on overall animal welfare, selection for robustness, behavior, and overall social effects, which would include those that may be impacted by climate change, again, focusing on thermal stress, and innovative alternatives to replace and or reduce the overall use of animals within research. So the program priority code for the welfare of agricultural animals is A1251, as was previously stated. And the grant types are similar, but not exactly the same as the two previous programs that you heard, which would include a maximum of $650,000 per standard project, which again would range time frame wise from 3 to 5 years. Or for this particular program, you can also have what we call partnership grants, and those can total up to $800,000 for a total of 3 to 5 years for the proposal. With that included, the project types changes and includes research and or integrated projects. And the grant types can include standard, conference, and again, phase, which would include the strengthening standard, new investigator, strengthening conference, seed equipment, and sabbatical grants. It has the same deadline as the other AFRI animal systems programs, which is August 8th, promptly at 5 p.m. Eastern. And again, those programmatic contacts are again, myself and Dr. Miranda, so if you have any questions or concerns. Next, we'll hear from the Animal Breeding Genetics and Genomics program. Angelica.
Thank you, Camila. My name is Angelica Van Gorham, a national program leader, and I co-lead the Animal Breeding Genetics and Genomics program with Tim Sullivan, with Terry Radke and Jennifer Strautman as our program specialists. So the purpose and priorities of this program can be found in the RFA on pages 37 through 39. And the funding priorities for the $650,000 standard grants, as well as the seed grants, include novel quantitative genetic methods, including selection theory and modeling, implementing selection methods, etc., and development of national and regional breeding strategies to address biotic and abiotic stresses, genetic diversity, germplasm storage and characterization, as well as crossbreeding or genome modifications. Additional priorities include development of new phenotypes for improving selection criteria and or development of high throughput methods for on-farm recording of traits, exploring alternatives to control inbreeding, exploit crossbreeding, conduct selection experiments, or develop novel breeding programs aimed at improving performance, welfare, or health of agricultural animals. Projects with specific types of partnerships, including small and mid-sized or minority serving and degree granting institutions not on the list of most successful institutions, EPSCoR institutions, or international partners can request up to an additional $150,000 as specified in the key information table. Funding priorities for $800,000 standard blueprint grants are those that align with a report entitled Genome to Phenome, Improving Animal Health, Production, and Well-Being, a new USDA blueprint for animal genome research from 2018 to 2027. So those projects that align with that blueprint the blueprint goals are eligible to apply for the $800,000 grants. As far as project and grant types, so the program code is A1201. The budget request can be $650,000 or $800,000 with specific types of partnerships that were mentioned, and $800,000 for 4 to 5 years for projects addressing the animal genome blueprint. The project types are research projects only, and the grant types accepted are standard conference and phase grants. The application deadline is the same as those other programs that have been talked about already, so August 8, 2024, 5 p.m., and you can contact myself and Tim Sullivan with additional questions. Next, I will hand it over for a program overview of diseases of agricultural animals.
Thank you, Angelica. So this is our team. I'm Tim Sullivan, and I co-lead Diseases of Agricultural Animals with Kathy Bjork, who you met at the start of this presentation. We work with 2 program specialists, Rikia Salter and Sierra Cassettis. So priorities for Diseases of Agricultural Animals. If you have the RFA and are looking for this program, it's on pages 37 through 39. So Diseases of Ag Animals supports cellular, molecular, genetic, genomic, or whole animal aspects of animal health and disease, with an emphasis on maintaining healthy agricultural animals. We have priorities around the maintenance of homeostasis, including innate immune responses. Much of what the program supports is focused on disease prevention and control, including vaccines, reverse vaccinology, breeding for resistance specifically, unique management approaches for animal health, and the development of diagnostics. The diagnostic part, typically the diagnostics that the program supports are focused on endemic diseases. For diseases that are transboundary in nature or are emergent or re-emergent, many of those folks are directed to the Agricultural Biosecurity Program Area Priority, which Michelle Colby will talk about a little bit later on in this presentation. We also support therapeutic interventions for disease, including the development of alternatives to antibiotics and the development of drugs for minor use animal species or for minor uses in major animal species. We also support the development of publicly accessible, reasonably priced immune reagents for ruminants of swine, equine, aquaculture, and poultry. So this is a separate class of proposals that we are soliciting that focus specifically on the development of immune reagents for those particular groups of species as a way to support furthering research objectives around animal health. One of the other things that you'll notice in the description for this program is a coordination network focused on tribal animal health, specifically the establishment of that coordination network focused on building a community focused on tribal animal health issues and creating comprehensive directions for needed research around tribal animal health. So what we mean by tribal animal health is pretty broad. So it's typical agricultural animals that are produced on tribal lands by tribal producers, or species that are produced that are culturally significant to tribes. The main exception is companion animals within the scope of what we would cover as far as research needs for a tribal animal health coordination network. So the program area priority code A1221. Much of this information is pretty similar to what others have already said. So this is a research only program. So we have $650,000 awards for standard grants for up to 3 to 5 years. We do allow for pretty much exactly the same as what Angelica specified as far as the qualifications of the partnering institution. $800,000 for 3 to 5 years. The most important thing to note is that the additional funds have to go to the partnering eligible institution. That can be the prime applicant if they're the partnering eligible institution, but somebody has to receive the $150,000, and it has to be clear that they're the partner that made that partnership possible. We allow $300,000 for up to 24 months for seed grants, both strengthening seed grants and new investigator seed grants. And this is a program that also allows for tripartite awards. So those are awards that are jointly made between U.S. institutions in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. That's all spelled out in the RFA. But if for some reason you have collaborators in those countries, that is an opportunity to support research that is, the U.S. supports the U.S. researcher, and those in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland support their folks. But if you are interested in that process and the program area priority you're applying to allows for tripartites, I'm sure the program contacts would be happy to walk you through how that process works. Our submission deadline is the same. And again, if you have questions about diseases, you can email Kathy or myself. So now I'm going to turn it over to myself to talk about ecology and evolution of infectious diseases. I'm Tim Sullivan, and I'm the NPL for our participation in the EEID program. And I work on that program with Pushpa Kathir, who's already been introduced previously. So EEID is actually an RFA that's put out by the National Science Foundation, of which NIFA is one of a number of domestic and international partners. So the NSF, NIH, and NIFA all support projects through this program. And there are international partners from the U.S.-Israel Binational Science Foundation, UKRI/BBSRC in the United Kingdom, and the National Science Foundation in China. The priorities for EEID are specifically focused on ecological, evolutionary, and social drivers that impact transmission dynamics of infectious disease. So the sort of grounding point for every project in the EEID program is quantitative or computational understandings of pathogen transmission dynamics. So we see projects on the evolutionary side, things like evolution of virulence, evolution of novel strains of particular diseases, what the mechanisms are by which those happen. We see things on abiotic and biotic factors that influence disease transmission, computational models that help to understand the impact of reservoirs on disease transmission and disease spread. All those kinds of questions can be covered in the program. As far as the species that are looked at in terms of the host pathogen systems, they can be zoonotic, environmentally borne, vector-borne, enteric pathogens of either terrestrial or aquatic systems or organisms. This includes animals and plants. So even though I am, involved in aquaculture and animal health, and this is the technical assistance webinar for the animal health or animal production systems division, this program, about half the time supports projects that involve plants in some form or the other. And the scope can be a single host pathogen system, or it can be an entire environmental system. So as I said, this is an interagency program with the National Science Foundation. So applications, this is really important. Applications in this program are going to go into grants.gov, and they're going to be collected by the National Science Foundation. So it's important for folks to talk to me, because then I can flag the project that you're planning to submit as something that's agriculturally relevant. But the people who are going to do the screening of your project, who are going to decide whether it should be accepted or declined, are Katerina Dittmar and Sam Shiner at the National Science Foundation. So reaching out to Katerina and Sam is also really important because they can also give you really valuable information to make this process easier. NIFA typically supports projects up to $2.5 million in total per project for 3 to 5 years. These are also research only projects. And the application deadline is usually the third Thursday in November. That's last year's date that I updated but didn't get carried through. So I'll turn it over to Michelle, who will talk about agricultural biosecurity.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll start off with introductions. I'm the national program leader for animal biosecurity in the Division of Animal Systems. The other people that work on this program as a cross-cutting program, Tim, who you just met, works on this program with me, as well as Sierra Cassettis, who's a program specialist in the Division of Animal Systems as well. But as a cross-cutting program, we also have Dr. Amar Fayed, who's in the Division of Plant Systems Protection. So he oversees the plant side of this program, and Jesse Ostrander, who's the lead program specialist from the Division of Plant Systems Protection. So agricultural biosecurity is a program area priority that focuses on increasing our national capacity to prevent, rapidly detect, and respond to biological threats to U.S. agriculture and food supply. In this area, supported activities are aimed at increasing agricultural biosecurity at both regional and national levels, as well as across public and private sectors. Our goal is to address vulnerabilities of the nation's food and agriculture systems, and that we recognize that this requires a concerted effort, sustained investment, and coordinated strategies that protect the U.S. food and ag system against threats from pests, diseases, contaminants, and disasters. And this year's RFA has two separate areas, both agricultural biosecurity projects and the agricultural biosecurity coordination network, which was new in 2023. So I'll talk about both of those separately. So for the agricultural biosecurity projects, they must address one or more of the following: either detection, diagnostics, surveillance, and or forecasting of transboundary, emerging, or re-emerging pests and diseases associated with animal production systems, and or transboundary, emerging, re-emerging, or invasive diseases, insects, and weeds associated with plant production systems. This also includes non-traditional detection methodologies such as syndromic surveillance, predictive analysis of satellite imagery, and anything else that you can come up with that fits under this really broad category. The second category is even broader and includes rapid response to and recovery from pests and diseases that pose large-scale biosecurity threats to plant and animal production, including existing and imminent threats to U.S. agricultural production and food supply systems. The Agricultural Biosecurity Coordination Network, we're looking for 3 to 5 year proposals. And these projects must include a work plan that addresses all of the following: engagement and integration, including new and existing agricultural biosecurity projects, programs, and networks. Coordination, where you would coordinate an annual biosecurity symposium and formalized coordination activities for the broader agricultural biosecurity community. Communication, facilitate effective communication among these diverse groups and establish common mechanisms for joint prioritization of common research agendas. Management and sustainability, so a plan for coordination, oversight, and long-term sustainability beyond the term of the grant. And one of the reasons that we have this coordination network in here is, as a cross-cutting program, it's really difficult to get all of our project directors in one room. There's not a conference that really focuses on agricultural biosecurity across the plant and animal health communities. And so this is part of our effort to build that community in its entirety. And that includes coordinating a lot of existing programs already funded within NIFA beyond just this program area priority. Let's go to the next slide. So the program area priority code is A1181. And Tim and Angelica have already covered a lot about the funding amounts. But in this program, we fund research, extension, and integrated projects. So there is the higher amount of $1 million for integrated projects of 3 to 5 years. And then the additional $150,000 is available for specific partnerships. And the application deadline is the same, Thursday, August 8th, 2024. And you are more than welcome to reach out to Amr or I if you have any questions. And the QR code or the link will take you to a list of our awarded projects if you're interested in examples. And as with Tim, I will be turning it over to myself to talk about another cross-cutting program, Rapid Response to Extreme Weather Events across food and agricultural systems. So there is a whole team across multiple NIFA divisions and institutes, but I just covered the 2 people that work on this within the Institute of Food Production and Sustainability. So I'm the national program leader, and then Danielle Farley is the program specialist within IFPS and the Division of Animal Systems. But in addition to that, we have a common mailbox that's shared by everybody, AFRI Rapid Response at USDA.gov. And that's really your best resource if you have questions about this program, because we all check it and that's the best place to get a really quick response. Go to the next slide. So the purposes and priorities of the Rapid Response Program. This program is designed to rapidly deploy strategies and fill knowledge and information gaps to protect the nation's food and agricultural supply chains and the people who support them during and after weather-related disasters. So all submissions must directly address effects associated with a recent extreme weather event or disaster. Standard and phase or strengthening standard grant applications must address one or more of the following emphasis areas: agroecosystem resilience, food safety, food nutrition security, and agricultural commodity security, or health, well-being, and safety. The program area priority code is A1712. The proposed budget request here, the funding amount is $300,000 for standard and phase grants, and that's for 12 months. And these are extension or integrated research and extension projects only. And the application deadline here, this is a continuous application program. So applications must be submitted within 45 calendar days after an extreme weather event or a disaster. And we recognize that not every disaster, while there might be a starting point, the impacts of those disasters can sometimes go on for extended periods of time. So if you read in the RFA, pages 109 to 112, it's pretty clear in there. It's up to the applicant to really describe that time frame and where they're starting their 45 days. So it's really why this funding and why now. And I've listed all the program contacts as well as the AFRI Rapid Response email there. And again, we have a QR code that takes you to a list of our funded projects. And I will now turn it over to Amber to talk about interdisciplinary engagement in animal systems, another cross-cutting program.
Thanks, Michelle. Okay, so our program contacts for this program is Angelica Van Gore, who you met earlier, myself, and also because it is a cross-cutting program, we have a national program leader from the Division of Environmental Systems. That's Jomi Zamora, and the program specialist is Rakia Salter. In terms of the purpose and priorities, the priorities for this program are precision animal management, That includes precision feeding, breeding, management, and animal health to ensure and enhance economic viability. There's also environmental synergies in animal production, so managing emissions, recycling, reusing co-products of animal agriculture, optimizing animal management or environmental health. And then the third priority is societal aspects of animal welfare. So building trust around animal agriculture, consumer experiences that influence perceptions of animal agriculture, well-being, public engagement in the policy and practices of animal agriculture for improved animal welfare. In terms of the details here, the program area priority code is A1261. Proposed budget requests are up to $1 million per project or $1,150,000 with those specific partnerships. All of those projects are from 3 to 5 years in length. I think this is the first program area priority that has allowed only integrated projects. So every project needs to include both research and extension, or it can be research and education, but it cannot be research only. The program accepts standard, conference, and phase grant types. So strengthening standard, new investigator, strengthening conference, seed, equipment, and sabbatical. We have a different deadline. It is October 3rd, 2024, again at that 5 p.m. Eastern time. And the contacts are Angelica Van Gore, Joe Mizmora, and myself. And I will be passing it on to Sierra to talk about the CARE program.
Right. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Amber, for that. And my name is Sierra. I'm the program specialist for the CARE program, and I'll be giving the little presentation on CARE. We have 2 national program leaders that co-lead this program. The first is James Dobrowolski, and he is in the Division of Environmental Systems. And the second is Vijay Nandula, who is in the Division of Plant Protection. So this program addresses critical challenges and opportunities that research and extension together can address to improve our nation's agricultural and food systems. These problems can be local, regional, or national, and they call for work focused on one or more scientific disciplines. However, all need immediate attention to meet producer and consumer needs. So this program is about finding and implementing solutions to these critical problems that require partnership and close coordination among researchers, extension experts, and practitioners in food and agricultural enterprises. Funded projects are expected to produce results that lead to practices, tools, and technologies that are rapidly adopted by end users. And lastly, projects based on Indigenous traditional ecological knowledge are appropriate for this program area priority. So for A1701, all awards are at $300,000 per project for up to 3 years. So again, these are short-term projects with a rapid outcome. We're looking for those immediate outcomes. This program is integrated only, and we only accept research and extension projects. Please make sure that this is an important point, that we will not review your proposal if it does not contain a research and an extension component. The grant types for this are standard and phase. And then our application deadline is Thursday, September 12th, and at 5 p.m. Eastern time. All right, so next I will pass it on to the to go over the program overview for data science for food and agriculture.
Thank you. I will be covering these slides. So for the data science program, the primary contact is Jessica Shade, who is an NPL in the plant production division. There are also several co-lead NPLs that are listed in the RFA. So you can contact Jessica, or they have a data science mailbox that will be on one of the next slides. The purpose and priorities of the data science program can be found in the RFA on pages 91 through 94. The focus is on intersections between data science / artificial intelligence, or AI, and agricultural areas to enable systems and communities to effectively utilize data, improve resource management, and integrate new technologies and approaches to further U.S. food and agriculture enterprises. Applications for research and integrated research projects must address one of the 6 AFRI Farm Bill priority areas, which includes animal science. So in the program, they especially welcome proposals in the areas of climate smart agriculture and forestry, food and nutrition security, environmental sustainability, economic revitalization, and justice. Projects that focus on the intersections between one or more of these areas are also welcome. The most competitive proposals will be equally well-grounded in agriculture and food sciences and in data science. In addition, competitive proposals will clearly communicate the relevance and novelty of the proposed research in both areas. Project and grant types. The program area priority code is A1541, and the proposed budget request includes $650,000 total per project for 3 to 5 years. There is also coordinated innovation network projects up to $1 million total per project for project periods up to 5 years. Coordinated innovation networks on climate / food supply modeling for up to $3 million. And each one of these types of projects has partnership opportunities with the ability to request $150,000 above those budget maximums with specific partnerships. So the project types include research projects or integrated, which means research plus education and/or extension projects. And the grant types are standard, conference, and phase grants. The grant types for coordination network are standard and phase only, and the application deadline is November 14, 2024. And for further information, you can contact Jessica or this DSFAS mailbox. I will also be covering the program overview for predoctoral fellowships and postdoctoral fellowships. So the main program contact for both predoc and postdoc fellowships is Ray Ali, who's a national program leader, and there's also a NIFA Fellows email box listed here. One thing about the predoc and postdoc fellowship programs is it's in a different RFA compared to all the other programs that have previously been covered in this webinar. And so the EWD RFA lists the predoc and postdoc program priorities in pages 25 to 30 of that RFA. The predoc and postdoc fellowships program area priority helps to develop new scientists and professionals to enter research, education, and/or extension fields within the food and agricultural sciences and within the private sector, government, or academia. NIFA is particularly interested in supporting fellows that address sustainable agricultural intensification, agricultural climate adaptation, food and nutrition translation, value-added innovation, and agricultural science policy leadership. So A7101 is the predoctoral fellowship program. So that is the code. The budget request can be up to $180,000 total per project. See the RFA for more details about what allocation, the budget allocation requirements for the budget of these grants. So the project types include research, education, extension, or integrated projects. The grant type is pre-doctoral grants only, and the deadline is Thursday, October 24, 2024 at 5 p.m. Eastern. And there is a contact information for Ray or the fellows box. Next slide. Sorry, go back one. For the A7201 or the postdoctoral fellowship program, the code is A7201. The budget is up to 225,000 total per project. Again, see the RFA for more details on the budget allocations. Project types include research, education, extension, or integrated projects. Grant type is postdoctoral fellowship grants only, and the application deadline is Thursday, September 5, 2024 at 5 p.m. in the same context as a previous slide. Next slide. Now I will hand it over to Kathy to go over application details and documents.
Thank you, Angelica, and thanks to everyone who presented during these program overviews. I hope everyone got some good background on these to help guide you with your applications and the placement of your proposals. One thing I did notice is that we have some questions in the chat. We have some Q&A and chat questions. And since I wanted to make sure we didn't lose any of our participants, I'm going to look back into the chat and see if I think there is a question that was directed to Michelle Colby. Michelle, are you still available?
Yep.
Great. Okay, so it says, would innovative approaches that nullify ARBs and ARGs fit 1181? And I think there's a note that you would like to answer this question, Michelle.
Yeah, that was a problem with me hitting the wrong button, but that's totally fine. So Kathy, actually, I'm going to pull on you as well to answer this question, because I think actually A1366, mitigating antimicrobial resistance across the food chain, would be a bit better fit for these types of projects, which we're not actually going to cover because that's in a separate part of the RFA, but that is on page 50 of the AFRI Foundational Applied Systems RFA. So I would suggest that you check that out. But Kathy, I wanted to have your second opinion on that one.
I would agree, Michelle. And for the general listening participants here, I believe ARBs are antimicrobial resistant bacteria, and ARGs are antimicrobial resistance genes. And that, I believe you're right, would fit with our program area A1366, mitigating antimicrobial resistance across the food chain. And it looks like Danielle is typing an answer, so it even looks as though that we might be getting you the information directly on that program. The second one is a point of clarification. I think I'm going to send this over to Tim.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that. That's fine.
Okay.
So, A1181 is prevention, surveillance, response, and recovery from transboundary emerging or re-emerging pests and diseases of U.S. agriculture. So knowing that, I mean, because I know the work that you do, if you're talking about basic science of, it's probably going to be a better fit for A1221, even if the tick is a tick that has recently ventured into U.S. territory, only because the past work that you've had funded in A1221 has been very much on the sort of like basic molecular processes as understanding those as a means to control ticks on agricultural animals. That is still gonna be probably reviewed better in 1221 versus A 1181.
And I would
Matt?
just build
Go
on
ahead,
Tim's
Michelle.
answer. I think A1181 is a very applied program. I think in the second part, I talked about tools and response plans. Our reviewers are really looking for what is the product coming out of it. It doesn't mean that you have to have a like licensed approved diagnostic at the end, but those are the kinds of things that they're looking for. And so there are a lot of things that could fall either into 1221 or 1181, depending on what your actual project is. And if you are reading the program area priorities and you're not sure, send us both an email and we'll be happy to talk to you about it and help you figure it out.
So, yes, I agree with everything Michelle said. So there's another question in the chat, Kathy. Jim, I'm not gonna pronounce that last name, but Howard, right? Where did diagnostics for animal health fit into a grant program? We talked about that briefly. If the disease in question is endemic to the United States, then you could submit to 1221, which is diseases of agricultural animals. But if the diagnostic in question is for a foreign animal disease, a disease that's transboundary in nature, or is newly emergent in the United States or re-emergent after previously being eradicated, then it may fit better in a 1181. Best course of action would be for you to write up a few sentences and send it to Kathy, Michelle, and I, and we will bat it around and give you back an answer on which one is the best fit. That's always the best guidance. If you're planning on applying to a specific program area priority, even if you think you're total shoo-in, you should still meet with a national program leader because there's always information that we can give you that might be helpful. So that's the answer to that question.
Very good. I don't see any further questions coming up in the chat or the Q&A, so I'm going to move forward into.
Ed, so it looks like Ed asked the second question.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Has there been an info webinar on topic code A1366 or is it upcoming? Chances are it's upcoming because that's in IFSN, right?
Yes. Yeah, I
So
haven't
that's a
seen an
different
announcement.
institute. So they haven't announced when their webinar will be in. Keep an eye on the website, I guess. NIFA updates, that kind of thing. They'll be put out there.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks to others. Anyone else who would like to jump in, please do. We'll be here for a bit, but we'll go over some of our key documents and application details first, and then at the end, there's time for questions again. So we'll just make sure we get them all before we close today. So we'll start with the key documents. There are several key documents required for a complete application to AFRI. These include the project summary or abstract, the project narrative, the bibliography or reference list, the data management plan, and any other documents specified in the RFA for the program area you're applying to. So as noted clearly in the RFA, the failure to include any of the three critical required documents of the project summary or abstract, the project narrative, or bibliography and references sections as PDF attachments will result in the application not being reviewed or considered for funding by NIFA. The RFA is the reference document for all required documents, and the NIFA grants application guide is the agency's guidance document for the preparation and submission of applications via grants.gov. The project narrative is the critical document where you describe the purpose, objectives, methods, and any other aspects of your proposal. Be sure to note and address any specific requirements in the program area you're applying to by familiarizing yourself with the RFA. For standard proposals, the project narrative is not to exceed 18 pages. For seed proposals, the length is 7 pages. The narrative should be single-spaced with 1-inch margins using 12-point times New Roman font, and the narrative should include text, figures, and tables. These limits and guidelines are strictly enforced, and applications that don't conform to the guidelines will be returned without a review. The data management plan is a required document up to 2 pages with a detailed business or management plan for the data that will be generated by the project. The DMP must include a description of the expected data type, format, storage, and preservation, a plan for sharing, how the data will be protected, how the public can access the data, and the roles and responsibilities of project personnel who oversee the data. This should also include the persons who will ensure DMP implementation, a contingency plan in case key personnel leave the project, and the resources that will be needed and dedicated to the DMP. And we also have a link here to the DMP information that you should be aware of. So for submitting the application, be sure to have the NIFA grants.gov application guide on hand when you're developing and submitting an application. The link to the website is provided on this page. NIFA only accepts electronic submissions of applications through grants.gov. All documents must be in PDF format for NIFA. This is critical. Make sure all application documents are PDF'd, as NIFA won't accept documents that are in formats such as Word.doc. Grants.gov may accept documents that aren't in PDF format, but NIFA only accepts them as PDFs. And this is on in the FAS RFA pages 120 to 121. All right, now we'll go over the proposal evaluation process. So the first step, even before reaching the panel for review, is that the application is screened for the required documents. If a critical required document is missing, the application won't move forward. Next, each proposal is assigned to at least 3 reviewers with expertise in the topic, which may include things like the species of the animal and a specific health or production focus. Each reviewer produces an individual written review of each proposal they're assigned, paying special attention to the proposal's strengths and weaknesses. These strengths and weaknesses form the core criteria for each individual reviewer's assignment of a rating for each proposal. The written reviews are used as the starting point for the panel discussions of each proposal, where each reviewer presents the review and evaluation of the strengths, weaknesses, and a suggested rating. The discussions then lead to a consensus by the individual reviewers with inputs from other members of the panel for the final proposal rating. Once all proposals are rated, the ranking of proposals is performed by the full panel. So this slide describes the evaluation criteria in greater detail. There are 2 levels of assessment. The reviewer first summarizes how the application addresses the evaluation criteria with references to the strengths and weaknesses. Then the reviewer evaluates the likelihood of a significant outcome and impact. After all individual reviewers report out their review and rating, the full panel conducts a discussion and reaches a consensus on the final ranking. A complete description of NIFA's peer review process is on the NIFA website. Really important is to be sure to review the evaluation criteria in the AFRI review criteria document on the AFRI RFA resources page. The criteria are listed for the different project types and grant types. And I really encourage everyone to go and look closely at those evaluation criteria, because those are the criteria that we point all of our reviewers to in order to make a rating and then eventually a ranking. And this is on page 126 of the RFA. So the timeline of competitive programs. The timeline starts with the release of the RFA. There is approximately a 1 to 2 month period from the RFA release date to the proposal due dates. After the due date, a competitive program takes about 3 to 5 months before an award is made. In the first 2 to 3 months, the review process is conducted, the review panel makes recommendations, the recommended awards are processed, and funding notifications are sent out. In the next 1 to 2 months, the awards are processed and finalized and are made to an institution. So we'll go over some additional information that'll be helpful for your applications. The NIFA reporting portal is the NIFA data gateway. Easiest way to find this is just to use your search function. I use Google. So just Google NIFA data gateway and it'll take you right there. This is the preferred search tool for finding NIFA's funded awards. You can select a number of search terms and programs to view the types of projects and awards that NIFA has made in the past, and to ensure you're not duplicating research that's already been funded in another program or by another researcher. This includes a summary of each research project, the funding amount, the duration and type of award, and other helpful information. So we have some upcoming events. So it's the best way to get information on NIFA's upcoming events are to look at our events calendar, and the website, the link is provided there. Also, you can find out about the upcoming RFAs from the release calendar of that. And then in general, there are ways you can sign up for NIFA data communications, and they will send out our stakeholder registry. You can get notifications of all the projects and programs as they're announced, and all of these upcoming events. So I would recommend you go onto our website and ask to sign up for some of those informational sources or resources. Okay, other grant resources are listed here, and NIFA has vast resources available for all of our programs, all of our project types, grant types, awards, funding opportunities, and more. So this slide lists the most important resources, but there are many others. And I'd encourage you, as soon as you are considering applying for funding or developing a research proposal, to familiarize yourself with all the resources and documentation that NIFA has available. And I also encourage you, just as our presenters have said, reach out to the program leads, the NPLs, the program specialists, anyone. If you have questions, we're very happy to go over the right placement for your proposal to make sure it gets the best review possible. Just do stay in contact with us. We're here to help, and we're happy to help you. So I think our last slide is really just questions. And it says the first question I have is, oh, sorry, the slides be available somewhere so we can access the URLs. And I'm not sure how that works. And so Danielle, I'm going to put you on the spot and see if you could respond to that question.
Absolutely. Yes, the slides and the recording will be available within 2 weeks. They will be posted to the NIFA event page that this was linked to, as well as on the AFRI Foundational and Applied Sciences webpage, where other recordings will be linked. So since you registered for the event, once we post this and make them available, we will email you to let you know. And I invite the rest of our panelists to come on camera as we engage in questions.
Well, I do see a comment about the narrative and page limit instruction. And Terry is saying, should we mention that there's one additional page allowed for resubmissions to address the previous review? And that is exactly what we needed to cover. Thanks, Terry. Do you want to say anything? It looks as though if you want to speak about that, that would be great. Or maybe he's not on still. Okay, well, at this point, the answer is yes. You're allowed another one page for a response to a resubmission. Otherwise, I'm going to ask Tim to answer it since he's smiling so broadly there.
No, I mean, that's it. You have one additional page that you can use to respond to reviewer comments. Typically, those are focused on the panel summary comments because those are the comments of the reviewers and the rest of the panel, after they've discussed. You can certainly respond to individual reviewer comments that you receive that maybe aren't in the panel summary, but you think are valuable. And typically that page is used to highlight the ways in which you improve the manuscript. So it's not just, I wouldn't just use it as a place to disagree with the things the reviewers comment about. That probably wouldn't play well in review, but there you go. There's my answer, Kathy, since I chuckled and put myself into this.
Yes, and I just want to reiterate what Tim said. This isn't the place to argue that with the reviewers. This is a place to say, thank you for your review and your inputs, and find gentle ways to address them, I guess is my advice. Review panels don't like to see somebody say, these reviews were all wrong and I'm going to do it over again the same way. They want to see that you have actually addressed their concerns. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Do you see any, Danielle?
There's one. There's one here. Can small businesses partner with academic institutions and a farm operation on a grant submission? So AFRI's eligibility is very broad. So 501c3s can apply, especially for the foundational and applied science, which we are talking about today. 501c3s, for-profit entities can apply, and a number of different types of universities can apply. We receive very few submissions from nonprofit and for-profit entities, primarily because they would be competing against large-scale institutions with research faculty and, a lot of research space. And that's really where we receive the bulk of our submissions from. So in terms of your question, Jim, typically small businesses would be looking at applying to the SBIR program, Small Business Innovative Research, and what is now the STTR, Tech Transfer Research Program. That's specifically designed for small businesses. So it allows for confidential reporting. It only sees applications from small businesses who can partner with either federal research labs like ARS or research institutions at schools around the country to do commercializable research. So my advice to you, while you could apply to AFRI, is to look at the SBIR program because it's specifically designed for small businesses. The success rates are higher, competition is generally lower because you're applying against people that are at the same level, small businesses versus like, Auburn or Cornell or somebody. All right, I really rambled on that one.
I do want to add the eligibility criteria for integrated grant programs is different in AFRI. And so in the RFA on page 11, it says there's a Part 3 eligibility information, which covers the eligible entities to apply as the project director for research grants, but also for integrated programs is different. So for integrated projects, it must be an institution of higher education. So that includes colleges and universities, 1994 land-grant institutions, and Hispanic serving agriculture colleges and universities. So just that distinction between research-only programs or integrated grant types.
And just to build on what Angelica said, in that case, the small business can still partner with the academic institution. It's just that the academic institution would have to be the lead institution on an integrated application.
Well, I think we've answered nearly all the questions. I don't see anything else pending here. So at this point, seeing and hearing nothing else, I think we can conclude the webinar. And if anyone has any follow-up questions or needs, we've given you plenty of information on how to find us, so please do reach out. We're always happy to work with you. Thanks for attending today. Take care. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks.
Sorry, there is another question that has popped in, Kathy.
Oh, okay, I see. As a Canadian company, we would have to partner with a US academic institution.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
None of our funds can go directly to international applicants.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim. Okay. Thanks, everyone.